Hello! So today I purchased The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in Spanish, and I am going to read it. That is what I have decided. So, it is November 1st. I have decided for some reason that I want to study for an hour every day in November. I am currently studying 3 languages, Spanish, German, and Korean. I am, I would say, advanced beginner in German, intermediate beginner in Spanish, and true beginner in Korean. It's always recommended, by the way, to have 3 languages in a beginner level. Nothing could go wrong. Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to write on this right now. Hello. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that I've even made it this far. I am so tired. This week has felt like there were about 1,000 days in it, and it's not even done yet. So I have already done some reevaluating. As I expected, I wanted to make sure I was spending enough time to really know what is working for me and what is not. So German is a complicated language for me in that I have been learning it off and on, way more off than on, for most of my life. And so the knowledge that I have is very cemented in my brain. But grammar is obviously a huge struggle, and also it's actually really difficult for me to learn vocabulary in German right now also. So in Spanish, I would say my total amount of vocabulary is lower, but my Spanish is very fluid, I would say, right now. It's very easy for me to learn words. It's also very easy for me to forget words. German is like, my brain is so resistant to learning new words in German. I think what I'm doing for Spanish is working really well. I can pick up still a lot from my graphic novels, watching shows, etc. in Spanish. That right now, and possibly it's just because I haven't been doing it enough, I don't think is working for me in German. I watch or read things and I pretty much feel like I understand what I understand, and I'm not really picking things up from context like I am in Spanish. I'm not giving up on input by any means, but I did order some books in German, like textbooks. And so I think that I'm going to start working through those. So I am halfway through The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I also started La Magia del Orden again, and I actually read about 40 pages of that in one sitting because obviously it's pretty quick to read. I really like the combination of these. I think it's a good mix of challenging and doable. I also started a Duolingo streak in Spanish. This is random, but after lunch at work, I get so aggressively sleepy. I have found that doing a Duolingo lesson, when that happens, kind of revives my brain a little bit. So anyway, I know that Duolingo gets a bad rep, but they redid their Spanish course, I believe, recently, and I actually really like it right now. I haven't encountered any weird sentences really. They also have the stories tab, which I really like, and they have audio lessons now. It's just really nice to like get my brain back into it, dipping in and out throughout the day. So anyway, I'm gonna get to studying now. Thank you. Making very good progress on my Spanish books. So I've read 10 chapters of El León, la Bruja y el Ropero, and I have 7 chapters to go, so maybe I'll be able to finish this week. And I am also about halfway through rereading La Magia del Orden. That's pretty much all I've got to report. I have only done Korean once this week, but I'm really fine with that. I feel like splitting my attention between German and Spanish is plenty, so I'll probably just dabble in Korean here and there. Week 1 is accomplished. Yeah, I'm feeling good about it. Hello. Yesterday was the first day that I did not actually sit down to study. I did do some things. I did Duolingo and I listened to some audio lessons. I've been using the app Language Transfer, which I have liked listening to in the mornings while I'm getting ready for work. But anyway, I don't think that I got a full hour, but I don't mind. Where the hell is my lighter? Found it. I'm gonna be so mad when I'm editing that I left that whole section in. I'm very happy with how much I've stuck with it. It's actually like a huge commitment for me, at least. I know everyone's different, and probably to some people it's not, but to me it has been a major life changer, you know, just like routine change. I would say the major things that I try to fit in are reading, languages, fitness, and YouTube. I have noticed that whenever I try to prioritize one, the rest of them like really suffer. So I need to figure out what exactly I want that balance to look like. I'm going to get back to Spanish, and I might do a little bit of Korean today because I've only done one day of Korean in the month so far. I did order the other books in this series in Spanish from a used books site. I didn't order the last book. I don't like the last book even in English, so I'm not going to read it in Spanish, but I did order the rest of them. I am also watching the show La Venganza de las Juanas, I think, in Spanish, obviously, on Netflix. Okay, I did reading and I did a Talk to Me in Korean lesson. I think I'm going to make it a loose goal to finish level 1 this month. We'll see. I doubt that that will happen, but maybe. Okay, this is not related to anything, but I have a public service announcement. I have mastered the smoothie. I just had to let everyone know. This is 2 bananas. They were kind of overripe. I don't know if that was relevant. Frozen mango, and this is a new discovery, frozen squash. It adds like the same consistency as frozen fruit, but it's just not sweet. It doesn't really taste like anything. And then I have chocolate protein powder in here and powdered peanut butter. So it mostly just tastes like a peanut butter smoothie. It is phenomenal. Oh, and milk, like almond milk or whatever milk you use. So I just had to let everyone know. That's all. So like, I'm running into a problem. Like, this is the first lesson in German tutor. And all of these exercises are like entirely dependent on you knowing the gender of these words. I don't. At all, ever. So I don't know what to do. I think I'm gonna do a complete German lesson instead, and maybe hope that if I start closer to the beginning of language learning and I pay attention, maybe they will start to absorb into my brain. Who knows? We'll see. It is Sunday. It's snowing. I like how I have lived in a place where it snows for my entire life, and every single year I am outraged by this occurring. Yesterday was a very productive day in the Spanish life. So I finished rereading La Magia del Orden, and I loved it just as much the second time. I also finished El León, La Bruja y El Ropero, which was very exciting. Yeah, I guess kind of wrap-up thoughts on it. Yeah, I don't have any thoughts. It was a really good experience reading it. I did feel like I didn't miss any plot points. There weren't any like major sections that I didn't know what was happening. And I mean, that is exclusively because I have read the book so much as a kid. Definitely wouldn't have known what was going on constantly if it had been a book that I hadn't read before, but it went really well. I did get in an order. I accidentally got Prince Caspian in English, but then once I realized that I got it in English, I was kind of okay with it because I don't remember loving that book that much. So I did get these 3, and I'm still waiting on The Horse and His Boy. So this is The Magician's Nephew, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and The Silver Chair, and those are maybe my favorite 3 of the series, especially the latter two. I just started The Magician's Nephew today. I'm only a couple pages into it. I was running low on my favorite pens, so I got another order of those, and I put in these as well. Little pens that have little cats on them. They're so fucking cute. So I'm very happy with the progress that was made this weekend. I will say something that I feel like I haven't been very good about this month has been listening. I've been really on top of my reading, but I don't feel like I've been very good about listening. So I think I am going to download some podcast episodes to listen to on this walk. Hopefully my brain will cooperate. So I thought this would be a good chance to show you how I do my bullet journal for languages. I mean, it's for everything, but primarily right now it's focused on languages. So since we just finished a week, I don't do a daily to-do list every day because during the week, honestly, I'm usually too busy for it to be worthwhile, but I do leave this page so that I can, but this is kind of my primary weekly. So I make a little table here for each day of the week and then kind of things that I want to do along here. So we have fitness, German, Spanish, and Korean. And then I put down here, I call these kind of my shopping lists. So they're either things that I want to do or things that I'd like to consider doing at least. So then when I do something from here or something that's not on here, I just write it down. So I try to keep track of basically what I did every day. That's kind of how I structure it. So here's a blank week. I watched 2 YouTube videos. I found a new YouTuber in Spanish that I really like, new to me, named Marina Redondo, I believe. And she does like language learning and book content, so perfect. So I watched 2 of her videos earlier while I was doing chores, and I listened to 30 minutes of Prince Caspian on audiobook while I was walking to the library and the grocery store. That is how I structure my bullet journal. So today I had a long work thing, didn't get home until like 9. I will definitely not be doing an hour of language study. I will be eating some of these scones from Panera and then going to sleep. Yeah, it's just not gonna happen today. I am gonna try to keep my Duolingo streak though, so. Hello, it is November 21st. Just don't really feel like doing anything. I'll start to read my book and my brain just kind of refuses to understand anything, but it's okay. I also just have been having some things going on in my life over the past couple of days, and so I think that could be part of it as well. Just your mind, you know, has so much energy, and if that's being consumed with other thoughts, then it's going to be hard to focus, and that's fine. I think I'm going to do my Duo stuff today. I'm going to try to read. I am in chapter 7 of this, so there are 15 chapters, so I am almost halfway through this, and I really, really want to finish it before the end of the month, which should be totally doable even if I only read 1 chapter per day. I have kind of fallen off of like timing myself a little bit over the past week. I have still been getting an hour in almost every single day, some days more than an hour. It just has sometimes come in like while I'm in the car, I will listen to my audiobook, or, you know, on a break at work, I will do some Duolingo and that sort of thing. So I want to this week kind of get back to sitting down for dedicated chunks of an hour every single time, just to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this last full week of the challenge. Hello. Ooh, the lighting is really fun. This is what happens when it's winter. So I think I am sort of finally making my peace, something that I have resisted for a long time, which is the idea that I just need to focus on Spanish. I want so badly to learn multiple languages. And I do think that that's possible. I really do. I think that if you are willing to devote enough time, or you have enough time to devote to learning multiple languages at the same time. I still do think that that's possible. I don't know that I'm in that position right now. So I have been trying to focus on languages this month, and I would say that I have been successful. However, I have done almost nothing else. I am close to finishing the only book that I have read from start to finish this month. And normally I would have read probably 5 or 6 books by now. All that to say that I have dedicated an abnormal amount of time to studying this month, and I still have barely spent any time on anything besides Spanish. And I just think that I'm still going to continue finding German frustrating because I'm not able to dedicate enough time to it to make significant progress. This also works out because I did learn the German that I know so young that I don't really lose it when I don't use it, so I'm very capable of putting German on pause and not really losing that, so it is kind of ideal. It makes me a little bit sad because I did just get The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in German, and I may still try to read this. Like, I'm not saying that I'm not going to work on German at all, particularly as I'm moving into 2022 and thinking about what I want my goals for that year to be. I think I just need to be realistic about the fact that it's going to be Spanish right now, and that's fine. I am loving Spanish. So anyway, I'm going to stop procrastinating, and actually I want to read 2 chapters of this because I've been slacking a little bit this week. It's only Tuesday, but yesterday I didn't do very much. Hello. So it is Sunday, the 28th of November, so I have 2 more days of the month. I have really definitely kept up with my Spanish over the past week, but I haven't made quite as much progress as I would have liked in my book just because I'm bored. You know, I've been reading Narnia and also trying to listen to Narnia for like the whole month of November, and yeah, I loved Narnia as a kid and I do still enjoy it, but I just don't think that, you know, I think I need a little break after this book, which is good because I just picked this reserve up at the library today. This is the first Hunger Games book. I don't know if I can read this. We'll give it the good old college try. I think it should be fine. I haven't reread this like a million times, but I think I read it a couple of times. So I went to my significant other's abode this weekend and they have access to Disney Plus. So I did watch a lot of Disney Plus in Spanish. I watched the newish movie Luca, the one that is set in Italy. That was really cute. Also, I also watched the short from that. I watched Ratatouille, and then I watched the movie Parent Trap. There's this really interesting statistical analysis that was done on Disney Plus and on Netflix. Basically, so like figuring out which movies were easiest for language learners to watch. Long story short, The Parent Trap was very high on the list. And then today I watched the second Ice Age movie, and then I watched the show. There's a 4 or 5 episode show of shorts basically, so they're each like 10 minutes, about the dog Doug from the Up movie. It was so cute. So yeah, anyway, definitely got a lot of movies and TV in this weekend, but I did only read a chapter or 2 of this. I have 3.5 chapters of this left, so it shouldn't be a problem to finish this in the next 2 days. Ghostly. So in a surprising turn of events, I just decided to finish this, so I have read 2 chapter books in Spanish. I am very excited. Literally like 2 hours ago, I was like, I need a break from Narnia, you know. Do I need a break from Narnia? But I am going to give this a try, and I might just go ahead and read a little bit before I go to sleep from this, because I am feeling motivated, and it's always best to capitalize on that. It is November 30th, so I have one more evening of November to complete, but I wanted to film kind of my thoughts to round out this month before it got too dark, and these days that happens pretty much as soon as I get home from work. So I may make this a kind of a series, maybe not every month, but maybe similar to Polyglot Progress's wrap-up videos, which I really, really enjoy. I think it's such a great way to document both your progress and also for other people to see that there are so many ups and downs constantly, and that if you're not feeling like you're making great progress at all times, that's totally normal. So I guess that brings us to kind of the first thing that I feel like I really learned this month, and that was that I really need to change my mindset around progress with a language. When I was younger, I always really wanted to learn a language, and I would put in little amounts of effort. I would find a book or something that I was really excited about, and I would start to work on it, and then I would fizzle out and not do it. And I always attributed my lack of becoming fluent in a language to my laziness, which was true. That was the reason. But I always thought that if I buckled down and did it, that it would happen. And obviously that's just not the case. Like, eventually it will happen, but it's not something that you can just buckle down and get over with. And I think that that's something that I really struggle with. I often want to just rip the Band-Aid off. If there was a way for me to just front load the work, then I would want to do that. And I suppose there is with things like immersive programs or intensive language schools. Even then, I do think that you're still in for a long haul, but I obviously am not doing that with my life right now. And I don't want to just go to work and then come home and spend all of the rest of my free time studying. I want to spend a lot of time studying, but I have other interests, so it is going to be a slow progress. And I understand that with other things in my life. Like, I am also really trying to get back into running and other forms of like training, like strength training. And I understand that that is going to take a long time and that it's going to be a lot of work leading up to that. But for some reason with languages, I expect it to go quickly. And I don't know why that is. I have made a lot of progress in my mindset this month. There's a like self-helpish quote that I'm not sure who said it first, but I've seen it online. And although I'm not a big fan of the self-help genre, I do think that this quote is very accurate, and it is people overestimate what they can do in a single day and underestimate what they can do in a lifetime. And I think that that's something that has been very true of me, and I definitely am wanting to work on in the next year. Kind of along with that, something that I have to constantly remind myself of is that I am not going to see my progress in the day-to-day. You don't realize that you're making progress on a day-to-day basis, but the fact that I read 2 chapter books this month, even though I didn't understand all of them, and even though I already knew the plot, that is still a huge amount of progress from where I was 2 years ago when I first started learning Spanish. And my last and kind of sad discovery or decision, I really did start out this month planning to focus on Spanish, but also work pretty intensively on German and dabble in Korean. And although that did happen, especially the first half of the month, I worked on German pretty regularly, and I got a new textbook. I was really enthusiastic about some of the things, and I have kept dabbling in it since then. I am actually talking to someone on Tandem right now in German. But if I have the goal of really, really making progress in all of my languages, if I spread myself too thin, I am going to be frustrated. So realistically, I'm the most motivated in Spanish right now. I have the most goals for Spanish, and I'm making the most progress in Spanish right now. And so it makes sense to just focus on that for at least a couple months. I'm thinking probably the entirety of next year, but we'll see how it goes. Set down German and Korean except for as a fun side project and just focus on Spanish. So that was really disappointing to me, but at the same time, ever since I did that, I have felt so much more rewarded and focused in Spanish, and when I have dabbled in German, it has been really fun. So yeah, I will try to insert on the screen. I haven't fully added up my time yet, and this will not be an actual accurate representation of my time because I did not track everything that I did this month, but I will try to give an idea of how much time I spent doing each activity. Additionally, a couple days ago, I started using the app Polylogger. So if you are on that app, then you can find me. username is Katzabooks on there. So I would like to have the goal of spending an hour, probably 5 days a week at least, on Spanish. We will see how that goes in December, and that will probably help me create my goals for 2022. I hope that this has been a fun or helpful or motivational video for you to watch, and I'm just happy to be documenting my journey here. And if you'd like to hear from me more, then subscribe.